The soft, dim glow of neon lights from the city outside filtered into a small, cluttered apartment. Dust motes danced in the faint light. The air was heavy, almost still. Kale was slumped in a worn armchair. A used syringe lay on a small, scarred table next to him, alongside a small, elaborate kit. He exhaled slowly, a long, shaky breath, as a feeling of warmth began to spread through his veins. The synth finally. His hand, trembling slightly, pulled the needle from his arm. He placed it down carefully, almost reverently, next to the small kit. With practiced movements, he switched off a tiny burner and untied the rubber tubing from his arm. Despite his addiction, there's a meticulous precision to his actions. He prided himself on not being sloppy, even in his moments of weakness. Outside, the city lights seemed to pulse with a new intensity. Their vibrant colors, electric blues, fiery oranges, pulsing purples, danced across the walls of his apartment. He watched them, mesmerized, finding them far more appealing than the chaotic sounds the aliens here called music. He'd heard it had something to do with frequencies, something he never quite understood. Frequencies, right, more like noise. He settled deeper into the chair, anticipating a peaceful, relaxed day. The synth was fully kicking in now, making his senses swim in a gentle haze. He reached for a glass of rich, dark blue fruit juice, knowing it would taste divine in a moment. A food delivery was already scheduled for an hour from now. He'd learned from past disasters not to attempt cooking while under the influence of synth. Next to his kit, he opened a small, ornate wooden box. Inside, a small glass sphere glowed with a soft golden light. He picked it up, releasing it onto his arm. The sphere, as if alive, began to roll slowly up his forearm. Kale watched it, a childlike smile spreading across his face. He often wondered what it was. They had given it to him during his first week in the lab, a tool to calm him, and it had always worked. The sphere reached his shoulder, then crawled playfully along his back, making him giggle softly like a child. The sensation is undeniably ticklish, yet soothing. He continued to smile, oblivious to the world outside his tranquil bubble. The harsh, sterile white lights of a high-security prison cell illuminated Xylon. He sat at a bare metal table, a large, thick legal textbook open in front of him. His expression was one of calm confidence, almost smugness. He meticulously highlighted a paragraph in the book. Article 7, subsection C, they won't see this coming. He closed the book with a soft thud, a knowing smirk on his lips. A low electronic beep sounded from a small, wall-mounted comms unit. Xylon didn't flinch, his gaze fixed on the door. "Prisoner Xylon, you have a visitor." Xylon chuckled softly, a dry, rasping sound. He rose slowly, stretching his back as if preparing for a long, enjoyable conversation. Finally, took them long enough. The heavy, metallic door of his cell slid open with a hiss, revealing a corridor lined with armed guards. Xylon walked out, his head held high, radiating an air of intellectual superiority rather than defeat. The apartment of Shade was minimalistic, almost Spartan. There was a subtle hum of advanced technology in the air. He stood by a large holographic display, reviewing combat footage. His face was set in a grim, irritated expression. He clenched his fist, the sound of crackling energy barely audible. A cheap shot, pathetic. His attention shifted to his reflection in the polished metallic wall. He ran a gloved hand over the scar where his eye used to be, a constant reminder of past battles. His other eye, a piercing blue, flickered with raw power. He adjusted the straps of his worn black leather battle armor, tightening them with a snap. "Where is that damn sidearm?" He paced restlessly, his heavy boots echoing slightly on the metallic floor. The memory of his death, vivid and annoying, flashed through his mind. It wasn't the death itself that bothered him. He'd died countless times. But the manner of it, and the fact that his beloved Magnum was missing. The command center was a hive of activity. Holographic maps glowed in the air, displaying complex tactical data. Xylos, the head of data operations, hovered over a console, his multi-jointed fingers flying across the controls. Data logs indicate a high-level anomaly during the recent patrol. Casualties minimal but a Class Alpha weapon missing. A screen flickered, showing a blurry image of the missing Magnum. We are cross-referencing all known theft protocols. The incident is classified as a personalized retrieval priority by Subject Shade. An officer, a stern-looking alien, approached Xylos. Xylos, any updates on Subject Shade's request? The hierarchy is pressing. Affirmative, officer. Subject Shade has requested immediate interrogation of prisoner Xylon. He states it involves a, quote, very special interrogation technique. Special technique? That sounds unconventional. Did he specify? Negative, officer, but his confidence metrics are exceptionally high regarding its success. Very well. Inform the hierarchy, and make sure the prisoner is moved to the designated interrogation chamber. Subject Shade will not tolerate delays. Understood. Initiating transport protocols for prisoner Xylon. Data logs updated. Shade continued his agitated pacing. The hum of his internal systems was almost a growl. He checked his holsters again, frustration mounting. He stopped at a weapons rack, examining various formidable-looking firearms, but none were the one. It was a gift, a damn gift, and some punk took it. A comms unit on his wrist beeped softly. Subject Shade, prisoner Xylon is being prepared for transport to the designated interrogation chamber as per your request. Good. And my Magnum? Any sign of it? Negative, Subject Shade. Search protocols are still active, no trace detected. He sighed, running a hand over his face, a rare display of exasperation. Fine, just send the black box data of my last patrol to my apartment. I want to see who had the guts to kill me. It won't take long to track that piece of garbage down, I'm sure. He tucked a massive tie-bar cannon into a holster, zipping up his jacket with a determined grunt. He glanced around the weapon pods of his ship, located within his apartment. Normally he'd feel a slight unease, but today, his mind was solely focused on vengeance. What was my kill count on that patrol anyway? Checking data slate, 9 kills, Subject Shade. A flicker of satisfaction, quickly replaced by annoyance. That's pretty good, 9 kills, 1 death. I am pissed about that Magnum though. He walked through the pods of the ship, ignoring his usual unease, as he headed for the airlock so he could catch a ride to his apartment. He normally didn't give a shit if someone killed him. It was just part of the job for a revenant like him. But losing his Magnum, that was a different story. He'd be damned if he lost that precious toy so quickly. He already planned the new rule he'd spread throughout the underworld, etched into the minds of every lowlife and thief. Don't mess with the Shade's weapon, or he'll hunt you down the next time he rises. He smiled grimly. It would be an interesting hunt, he thought. A necessary one. The commander, an imposing figure, watched as the last drops of Shade's blood splattered onto the wall. He's dead, a scientist observed, her voice flat. Good, one less problem. The commander's voice was cold, dismissive. He was a ruthless leader, always prioritizing his mission over his soldiers. The room was buzzing with activity, technicians scrambling to remove the last pieces of Shade's armor. What do we do with him? Another scientist asked, looking down at Shade's motionless body. Take him to the lab. We'll find a way to dispose of his body. We can't let him rise again. The commander's eyes narrowed. He's too dangerous. He watched the scientists haul the body away, a small team of engineers already working on removing the damaged remains of the ship. The commander wanted no trace left of the incident. Hours later, the lab was filled with the hum of machinery. Shade's body lay on a dissection table, restraints holding him down. Scientists were meticulously examining his wounds. It's remarkable, one whispered, how quickly he regenerates. He's a revenant, another reminded him. They're built to survive. Suddenly, Shade's body twitched. His good eye snapped open, glowing with an intense blue light. The scientists recoiled, stumbling back from the table. He's awake, one screamed. Shade roared, a sound of pure primal fury. He ripped through the restraints, his muscles bulging, veins throbbing. He lunged at the nearest scientist, his hand closing around her throat. You fools, he rasped, his voice a low growl. You thought you could contain me? He tossed the scientist aside like a rag doll. Alarms blared, and armed guards rushed into the lab, their weapons raised. Shade faced them, a feral grin on his face. "Come on then, cowards," he snarled. "Let's see if you can kill me again." He charged, a whirlwind of fists and raw power. The guards opened fire, but the bullets seemed to have little effect. He tore through them, a force of nature unleashed. The lab became a scene of chaos and destruction. The commander watched the live feed from his office, his face pale with shock. "He's stronger than ever," he muttered, horrified. "What do we do, sir?" an aide asked, trembling. The commander slammed his fist on the table. "Activate the self-destruct sequence. We can't let him escape." The aide hesitated. "Sir, the lab contains sensitive research." "I don't care," the commander roared. "Destroy it all. Just make sure he's gone for good." The self-destruct sequence was activated. The lab began to rumble, lights flickering, explosions tearing through the facility. Shade, still fighting, felt the ground shake. He knew what was happening. "Cowards," he spat, but there was a hint of respect in his voice. "They're willing to sacrifice everything to stop me." He fought his way through the collapsing lab, dodging falling debris and bursting pipes. He reached an emergency escape pod, blasting the door open with a surge of energy. He climbed inside, just as the entire facility erupted in a blinding explosion. He was alive, again, and now, he had a score to settle. He still didn't have his magnum. A month later, Kale was having another one of his regular sessions with the synth. The small glass sphere was rolling playfully on his arm, and he was giggling softly. His apartment was still cluttered, a testament to his disinterest in mundane tasks. He heard the familiar hum of a delivery drone approaching. "Food delivery," he mumbled, a slight slur in his voice. He opened the door to find a small, hovering drone with a package. He took the package, closed the door and set it on his table. Inside was a nutrient paste, his usual meal. He scooped a spoonful into his mouth, savoring the bland taste. Suddenly a massive boom shook the entire building. Kale spilled his nutrient paste, his eyes wide with surprise. He looked out his window. Through the faint neon glow, he could make out a huge, sleek, black ship hovering outside his window. It was the same ship that had arrived a month ago, the one that had caused so much destruction. A smaller craft detached from the ship, aiming directly at his apartment. Kale stared, mesmerized by the approaching craft. It was too fast. The craft smashed through his wall, sending debris flying. Kale cried out, shielding his face. When the dust settled, a towering figure stood in the gaping hole in his wall. It was Shade, his blue eye glowing with an intense, furious light. He was covered in battle armor, his Tybar cannon holstered at his side. Kale scrambled back, his heart pounding. Who are you?" Shade's voice was a low, dangerous growl. "You have something of mine." Kale looked around, confused. I don't know what you're talking about." Shade's gaze fell on the small, wooden box on Kale's table, then to the glass sphere still rolling innocently on Kale's arm. Shade's eye widened, and a flicker of something, almost longing, passed through his expression. That's my toy," Shade muttered, his voice softening slightly, almost to a wistful whisper. "Give it back." Kale, still dazed, tried to pull the sphere off his arm, but it seemed stuck. Shade moved forward, his massive hand reaching out. Kale flinched, expecting violence. But Shade gently, almost delicately, plucked the sphere from Kale's arm. Shade held the glowing sphere in his hand, a strange sense of calm settling over him. He felt connected to it. He looked at Kale, a hint of something unreadable in his gaze. "You," Shade said, his voice surprisingly calm now. "You were the one who killed me, the one who stole my toy." Kale's jaw dropped. "What? No, I'm just a synth user." Shade ignored him. He looked at the sphere, then back at Kale. A thought seemed to form in his mind. "You're coming with me," Shade declared. "You'll help me understand this connection." Kale protested, but Shade simply grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, easily lifting him like a child. He walked out of the apartment, leaving a massive hole in the wall and a terrified Kale struggling in his grip. He boarded the smaller craft, which then docked back into the main ship. The ship lifted off, leaving Kale's apartment in ruins. The neon lights of the city seemed to mock the chaos left behind. Inside the ship, Shade stood over a terrified Kale.
Xylos, his ocular sensors
Rapidly blinking, approached. Subject Shade, is the retrieval complete?
Yes, Shade said,
a strange mix of triumph and confusion in his voice. I found my toy, and the one who killed me. Xylos's optical sensors scanned Kale. This is the human male Kale, known synth addict. He had my toy, Shade insisted, holding up the glowing sphere. He's coming with me. He'll help me figure out why. Xylos processed this, then looked at Shade. Subject Shade, this is highly irregular, bringing a civilian aboard, especially one who contributed to your recent demise. The hierarchy will have questions. Let them ask, Shade growled. This is important. He's connected to my toy. He looked at the sphere, then at Kale. Kale trembled, utterly bewildered. He had no idea what was happening, or why this terrifying being was so obsessed with a simple glass sphere. What is that thing? Kale whispered, his voice shaky. Shade looked at him, his blue eye piercing. It's a part of me. He pressed the sphere against Kale's forehead. Kale felt a jolt, a strange surge of energy, and then a flood of images, memories and emotions washed over him. He saw battles, explosions, deaths and rebirths. He saw Shade's life, his struggles, his immense power. He saw the Magnum, a powerful weapon taken from Shade's hand in the moment of his death. And he saw himself in that moment picking up the weapon, unaware of its true owner. Kale gasped, staggering back. I didn't know, he stammered, his mind reeling. I just saw a weapon. I needed it. Shade pulled the sphere away. His expression softened slightly, a hint of understanding in his eyes. You took my toy, Shade repeated, but this time, there was no anger, only a statement of fact. Now, you will help me get it back. Kale swallowed hard. He was in way over his head. Why me? Kale asked, his voice barely a whisper. Because you touched it, Shade said simply, referring to the sphere. You are connected now, and you, human, will be useful. He turned to Xylos.
Prepare the interrogation chamber
and fetch prisoner Xylon. Xylos nodded, his multi-jointed fingers flying across his console. Kale watched, terrified as the ship began to move. He was trapped, dragged into a war he didn't understand, all because of a glowing sphere and a misplaced magnum. His synth addiction suddenly seemed like a minor problem compared to this. Continuation of script. Part 1. Draft. The ship soared through the blackness of space, leaving a trail of shimmering light. Inside, Kale was chained to a cold metal table in what looked like an interrogation room. Shade stood over him, holding the glowing glass sphere. Xylos hovered nearby, observing with his multiple blinking ocular sensors. You said this thing was a part of you, Kale whispered, trying to keep his voice steady. What is it? Shade stared at the sphere, then at Kale. It contains my essence, my memories. Every time I die, I transfer my essence to this sphere, and then I am reborn. He looked at Kale with a strange intensity. When you touched it, you absorbed a part of me. That's why you're connected. Kale looked at the sphere, then at his own trembling hands. He felt a faint hum, a resonance within him, a strange echo of Shade's power. He was scared, but also morbidly fascinated. So, what do you want from me? Kale asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. I want my magnum back, Shade stated simply. It was a gift. It was stolen when you killed me. I didn't steal it, Kale protested. I just picked it up. I needed a weapon. I was trying to survive. Irrelevant, Shade growled. It is mine, and you will help me retrieve it from Xylon. Kale's eyes widened. Xylon? The prisoner? Why would he have it? Shade's eye narrowed. He was present. He was the one who designed the traps in the lab. And he's known for acquiring unique items. Xylos interjected. Subject Shade, prisoner Xylon is being brought to this chamber now. The door to the interrogation chamber hissed open, and 2 armed guards escorted Xylon in. Xylon walked in calmly, a confident smirk on his face, as if he was simply arriving for a casual meeting. He looked at Shade, then at Kale, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Well, well, if it isn't the infamous Revenant," Xylon said, his voice smooth and mocking. "And you've brought a civilian? How quaint." Shade ignored Xylon's taunt. "Where is my magnum, Xylon?" Xylon chuckled. "Your magnum? Oh, that little toy. It's in a very secure place." Shade took a step closer, his eyes glowing brighter. "Give it back!" "Or what?" Xylon challenged, raising an eyebrow. "You'll kill me. You know that won't work. I'll just be reborn, and you'll still be without your precious weapon." Shade's fist clenched. "I have ways of making you talk." "I'm sure you do," Xylon said, completely unfazed. "But I also know the law, Revenant, and you have no legal right to interrogate me without proper procedure." "My rights are absolute." Shade let out a frustrated growl. He turned to Xylos. "He's refusing to cooperate." Xylos scanned Xylon, then Shade. "Subject Shade, prisoner Xylon is correct. His legal protections are robust. Direct physical coercion is unlikely to yield results and may incur penalties from the hierarchy." Shade slammed his fist on a nearby console, making it spark. "Then what do I do?" He looked at Kalki, an idea forming in his mind. You are connected to my essence. You have a part of me within you. Perhaps you can make him talk." Kale stared, horrified. "Me? How? I'm just a synth addict. I don't know anything about interrogation." "You possess a unique connection," Shade insisted, holding out the glowing sphere towards Kale. "Touch it, and touch Xylon. Use the connection." Kale hesitated, then slowly reached out and touched the sphere. A surge of familiar energy ran through him. He then looked at Xylon, who watched him with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "This is ridiculous," Xylon scoffed. Kale, emboldened by the energy flowing through him, extended his hand and touched Xylon's arm. Xylon flinched, a jolt of surprise visible on his face. Kale felt a strange sensation, as if his mind was merging with Xylon's, sifting through his thoughts, his memories. He saw flashes of Xylon's past, his cunning, his obsession with legal loopholes, and then a hidden compartment. It's in the prison," Kale stammered, pulling his hand away, panting. "In his cell, a hidden compartment behind the wall panel, under the ventilation shaft." Shade's eyes widened. He looked at Xylos. "Verify this information." Xylos immediately began typing on his console, his ocular sensors blinking furiously. After a few moments, he looked up. "Subject Shade, cross-reference data confirms a hidden compartment within prisoner Xylon's cell, precisely as described." Shade turned to Xylon, a triumphant smirk on his face. "You thought you were so clever, didn't you?" Xylon's smug expression had vanished, replaced by shock and anger. What did you do?" he stammered, glaring at Kale. "Your legal protections are irrelevant now," Shade said, his voice cold and victorious. "The information was obtained without direct coercion. No laws were broken."
Kale felt a strange sense of power,
mixed with fear. He had done it. He had helped Shade. "Now," Shade said, turning to Xylos, "retrieve my magnum." Xylos nodded and dispatched a retrieval team. Xylon was led away, his face a mask of furious defeat. "Well, human," Shade said, turning to Kale, the glowing sphere still in his hand. "You proved to be useful. Now about this connection." He pressed the sphere against Kale's forehead again. Kale felt the energy surge, and this time, he was more aware, more in control. He saw more of Shade's memories, his experiences. He saw the vastness of the galaxy, the different alien species, the endless battles, the constant cycle of death and rebirth. He saw the hierarchy, the supreme governing body of this alien civilization, and their immense power. He understood Shade's role as a revenant, a soldier who was constantly resurrected to fight their wars.
He also saw the loneliness,
the burden of immortality, and the underlying desire for purpose. When Shade pulled the sphere away, Kale felt a profound shift within him. The synth haze had completely vanished. His mind was clear, sharper than it had ever been. He felt different, more aware, more alive. "What did you do to me?" Kale whispered, looking at his hands, then at Shade. "You are evolving," Shade said, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "The connection is changing you." You are no longer just a human addict, you are becoming something more. Kale stared, bewildered. He had no idea what to make of this. He was scared, but also intrigued. Just then, Xylos returned, holding a magnificent, heavy magnum, its metallic surface gleaming in the light. "Subject Shade, your magnum has been retrieved." Shade took the magnum, a look of immense satisfaction on his face. He held it up, admiring its craftsmanship, its power. "Finally," he murmured, holstering it with a triumphant click, "now I can get back to what I do best." He looked at Kale. "And you, human, will be my new companion. You will help me understand this connection, and perhaps you will learn to fight." Kale swallowed hard. His life had just taken a very unexpected turn. He was no longer just a synth addict living in a cluttered apartment. He was now tied to a powerful, immortal warrior, embarking on a journey he couldn't even begin to imagine. A few days later, Kale found himself in a training room on Shade's ship. Shade was putting him through rigorous combat exercises. Kale, surprisingly, was adapting quickly. The connection with Shade's essence seemed to have enhanced his reflexes, his strength, and his ability to learn. "Faster, human!" Shade barked, dodging Kale's clumsy punch. "You're still too slow!" Kale grunted, trying to keep up. He was exhausted, but a strange surge of energy kept him going. He felt a newfound determination, a desire to prove himself. Xylos entered the training room, his ocular sensors blinking. "Subject Shade, the hierarchy has sent a message. They are requesting an audience with you." Shade stopped, his eyes narrowing. "The hierarchy? What do they want?" "They wish to discuss your recent unconventional methods," Xylos stated, glancing at Kale, "and the presence of the human aboard your vessel." Shade scoffed. "They always have questions. Very well, prepare the jump to the hierarchy's orbital station. And Kale, you're coming with me." Kale's eyes widened. "To the hierarchy? But I'm just a human." "Precisely," Shade said, a grim smile on his face. "They need to understand what you are becoming, and what your connection means for them." The ship made the jump to hyperspace, the stars outside blurring into streaks of light. Kale stared out the viewport, a mix of fear and excitement churning within him. His old life seemed like a distant dream. He was now part of something much bigger, much more dangerous, and undeniably extraordinary. They arrived at the hierarchy's orbital station, a massive, gleaming structure that dwarfed Shade's ship. It was a marvel of alien engineering, a testament to their advanced civilization. Shade's ship docked in a designated bay, and they disembarked. Kale walked alongside Shade, feeling incredibly small and vulnerable in the vast, imposing corridors of the station. Armed guards, taller and more imposing than any he had seen before, stood at every turn. He could feel their gazes on him, scrutinizing, judging. They were led to a grand chamber, where the hierarchy awaited. The chamber was enormous, with a high, vaulted ceiling and intricate alien carvings on the walls. At the far end, seated on elevated thrones, were the members of the hierarchy, ancient, wise-looking aliens, their faces impassive, their eyes radiating immense power. Shade knelt before them, a gesture of respect. Kale, unsure what to do, instinctively followed suit, though he felt awkward and out of place. Subject Shade, the lead member of the hierarchy, a venerable alien with glowing eyes, spoke, his voice resonating through the chamber. "You have returned. And you have brought with you an anomaly." Shade rose. "Esteemed hierarchy, I present Kale. He is connected to my essence. He is changing." The hierarchy members looked at Kale, their eyes scanning him, probing him. Kale felt a strange sensation, as if his very being was being examined, analyzed. He tried to remain calm, but his heart pounded in his chest. "We have detected a unique energy signature emanating from him," another hierarchy member said, their voice ancient and measured. "A resonance with your own essence, Revenant. He acquired my essence sphere during my last regeneration," Shade explained. "And in doing so, a part of me transferred to him." The hierarchy discussed amongst themselves in a language Kale didn't understand, their voices a low hum of clicks and whistles. Finally, the lead member spoke again. "This is unprecedented, Revenant. A human, possessing a portion of a revenant's essence. This changes everything. It could be a weapon, another hierarchy member suggested, a way to enhance our soldiers, to create more revenants. Kale flinched. He didn't want to be a weapon. Or it could be a threat, the lead member countered, an unpredictable variable. We must understand it. Shade stepped forward. I am already training him. He learns quickly. He is proving to be useful. The hierarchy considered this. After a long silence, the lead member spoke. We will monitor his progress, Revenant, and you will continue his training. We will observe the evolution of this connection. But be warned, Revenant. If he proves to be a danger, he will be neutralized. Kale felt a chill run down his spine. He was now under the direct scrutiny of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His life, and his future, depended on his ability to adapt, to learn, and to prove his worth. Shade bowed. As you command, esteemed hierarchy. They were dismissed. As they walked out of the chamber, Kale looked at Shade. They're going to kill me, aren't they, if I can't control this? Kale asked, his voice low. Shade walked on, his expression unreadable. You will control it, human. You have no other choice. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Kale's training intensified. He learned to wield different alien weapons, to fight with agility and precision. His connection with Shade's essence grew stronger, allowing him to tap into raw power, to move faster, to strike harder. He was no longer the weak, synth-addicted human. He was transforming, becoming a warrior in his own right. Shade was a harsh but effective mentor. He pushed Kale to his limits, never letting him give up. He saw the potential in Kale, the raw power waiting to be unleashed. One day, during a training session, Kale performed a complex combat maneuver perfectly, disarming Shade with a swift, fluid motion. Shade looked at him, a rare hint of approval in his eye. You're learning, Shade said, his voice almost gentle. Kale smiled, feeling a surge of pride. I told you I could do it. Next part. Xylos entered the training room. Subject Shade, we have detected a distress signal from a remote outpost. A small civilian settlement is under attack by a rogue mercenary faction. Shade's eyes narrowed. Mercenaries? What's their objective? Unknown, Subject Shade, Xylos replied. But their weaponry suggests they are heavily armed and dangerous. Shade turned to Kale. This is your chance, human. To prove your worth to the hierarchy, and to yourself. Kale felt a thrill of anticipation, his first real mission. I'm ready. They boarded Shade's ship and made the jump to the outpost's location. The journey was quick, and soon they were approaching the ravaged settlement. Smoke billowed from burning buildings, and the sounds of explosions and blaster fire echoed through the comms. Looks like a full-scale assault, Shade observed, his hand already on his magnum. They are targeting the central energy conduit, Xylos reported, displaying a holographic map of the outpost. If they breach it, the entire settlement will be destroyed. Shade nodded grimly. We can't let that happen. Kale, you're with me. Xylos, you provide tactical support from the ship. They landed the ship covertly on the outskirts of the settlement. As they disembarked, Kale felt the adrenaline coursing through him. This was different from training. This was real. They moved through the debris-strewn streets, the air thick with smoke and the metallic tang of burnt circuits. They encountered the mercenaries quickly. They were heavily armored, their faces hidden behind dark visors. Looks like they mean business, Kale muttered, drawing an alien blaster. Good, Shade growled, his magnum ready. So do I. The battle began. Shade was a whirlwind of destruction, his movements swift and powerful, his magnum spitting deadly blasts of energy. Kale, fueled by his enhanced abilities, fought alongside him, firing his blaster with surprising accuracy, dodging enemy fire, and engaging in hand-to-hand combat when necessary. He was no match for Shade's raw power, but he was holding his own, contributing to the fight. They fought their way through the mercenary ranks, pushing towards the central energy conduit. The mercenaries were tough, but they were no match for Shade's ferocity and Kale's unexpected prowess. As they approached the conduit, they saw a group of mercenaries attempting to breach its protective shield. The lead mercenary, a hulking figure with a massive energy axe, turned to face them. Well, looks like we have some unwanted guests, the mercenary leader snarled, his voice distorted by his helmet. You're going to regret interfering. I doubt it, Shade said, his voice cold. That conduit belongs to the hierarchy, and so do these people. The mercenary leader roared and charged, his energy axe glowing ominously. Shade met his attack head-on, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. Kale engaged the other mercenaries, his blaster spitting fire, his movements fluid and precise. The battle was fierce, but Shade, with his immense power and battle experience, eventually overwhelmed the mercenary leader. He disarmed him, then delivered a powerful blow that sent him crashing to the ground. The remaining mercenaries, seeing their leader defeated, quickly surrendered. Kale stood over the fallen mercenaries, panting, his blaster still smoking. He felt a surge of exhilaration, a sense of accomplishment he had never known before. He had helped, he had fought, he had made a difference. Shade walked over to him, his expression one of approval. You did well, human. Kale looked at Shade, a newfound respect in his eyes. Thanks to you. Xylos's voice came through the comms. Subject Shade, the hierarchy is monitoring the situation. They are impressed by the outcome, especially Kale's involvement. Shade smirked. Told you he was useful. The relief team from the hierarchy arrived, securing the outpost and attending to the injured civilians. Kale watched them, a sense of belonging slowly beginning to settle over him. He was no longer an outcast, a synth addict. He was a part of something, a protector. As they boarded Shade's ship, Kale looked back at the recovering outpost. He felt a strange sense of purpose, a calling he had never anticipated. His life had transformed completely, from the dim confines of his apartment to the vastness of space, from addiction to heroism. Continuation of script, Part 1 Draft. After the successful mission, Kale's reputation grew. The hierarchy, initially skeptical, now viewed him with a mixture of awe and caution. He was a human, yet he wielded power akin to a revenant. Shade continued to train him, pushing him harder, molding him into a formidable warrior. Their bond, forged in battle and shared essence, deepened. Shade, usually a solitary and grim figure, began to show a flicker of something akin to pride in Kale's progress. One day Xylos entered the training room, his ocular sensors blinking with urgency. Subject Shade, a critical situation has arisen. A powerful alien artifact, known as the Nexus Core, has been stolen from a secure hierarchy vault. Shade's eyes narrowed. The Nexus Core? That's impossible. It's the most heavily guarded artifact in the galaxy. Indeed, Subject Shade, Xylos confirmed. But surveillance footage shows a highly skilled individual, a master thief, responsible for the heist. His name is Vorlag. Shade clenched his fist. Vorlag. He's a slippery one, always one step ahead. The hierarchy demands its immediate retrieval, Xylos stated. The Nexus Core is essential for maintaining the stability of several star systems. Without it, chaos could ensue. Shade looked at Kale. This is a dangerous mission, human. Are you ready? Kale nodded, his jaw set. He was no longer the frightened addict. He was a warrior. I'm ready, Shade. Let's get it back. They embarked on a galaxy-spanning hunt for Vorlag and the Nexus Core. Their journey took them through bustling alien cities, shadowy underworlds, and dangerous uncharted territories. Kale, with his unique connection to Shade's essence, sometimes experienced flashes of insight, visions that helped them track their elusive target. It was as if Shade's vast knowledge and experience was subtly guiding him. They learned that Vorlag was planning to sell the Nexus Core to a renegade faction known as the Void Syndicate, who sought to disrupt the hierarchy's control and plunge the galaxy into anarchy. The stakes were incredibly high. Their pursuit led them to a hidden asteroid base, a desolate rock floating in the void of space. It was the Void Syndicate's stronghold. This is it, Shade said, his voice grim. Vorlag will be here.